Okay, ich sitze hier mit Simon Barlow von Evolve und hier ist das Interview. Hi Simon.
How's it going?
Good so far, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Okay, so Driveclub, would you consider it more of a arcade racer or more of a simulation or somewhere in the middle?
I would probably say it's somewhere in the middle. We wanted to try and make something that was accessible, largely because this is a connected social experience, so the game has to be accessible. But in order for it to provide some sort of longevity, it needs to have depth to it. So that's why it kind of sits between the two camps, really. We start everything with a simulation model. We build everything to be a one-to-one recreation of the real-world vehicle. And then from that, we add a layer of kind of, not necessarily helpers, but basically just some adjustments to the physics and to the handling model itself to make the game more accessible. That's largely because in a video game, you don't have the same senses that you have when you're in a real car. Like, there is no peripheral vision. In a real car, you feel the vibrations through the seat. You know when your car's about to lose grip. You don't have that in a video game. Even with a really good force feedback wheel, it's still an approximation. So there are certain things you have to do to the driving model itself, even if you were creating a simulator, to make it feel more like the real world car. If you just simulate a vehicle one-to-one, you just literally translate the raw mechanical data, it plays nothing like the car would do in real life. So,
Okay, so you try to be less of a simulator and feel more real through it.
yes. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. What we're trying to recreate is the personality of the car, the emotion that you have while you're driving the car. I think it's really easy to physically simulate a vehicle. You know, if you get the performance data, it's easy to make a car do exactly what it says in the performance statistics. It's much more difficult to recreate the personality of an individual vehicle, and you can only do that through, well, driving the vehicle for a start, spending time with it, and exploring it beyond just the mechanics of it. Like, what does it actually feel like to drive this vehicle? That's what we're trying to recreate with Driveclub. This is a game for car enthusiasts, for car fans. And we think that we've got something that kind of is both accessible but has that depth as well.
Okay, and since it's mostly a multiplayer experience plan, how much work did go into the AI?
A lot of work, actually. I mean, we still have quite a lot of single player content in the game as well. It's maybe something we've not spoken about a lot, mainly because people expect it in the game. All of the stuff like challenges and clubs, they're the things that we've talked about because they're new. They're not what people have seen before. But we do have quite a lot of single-player content. We have a full single-player campaign mode. Okay. We also have, obviously, single event mode, which is effectively like your way to recreate your own races. So pick a track, pick a game mode, pick your difficulty level, and off you go. We've spent an awful lot of time on the AI as a result of that, because one of the good ways of testing out these vehicles is to let the AI drive them and see how they behave. And you can run multiple laps with the AI and analyze the performance data afterwards. So we had to have strong AI. Even if we were never going to include them in the game, we had to have strong AI.
Okay, is there any content you can only unlock when you play multiplayer or single player, special events or special cars or something?
There are some exclusive cars related to clubs, and clubs you obviously have to be online to be a part of a club. The majority of the content can be unlocked like by yourself. But we wanted to encourage people to form clubs and be part of a club and feel like there was some reward for being part of that club. So otherwise there's no, other than just spending some time with your friends, which is great, there's still no additional meaning to be part of that club. So we give you exclusive vehicles, exclusive liveries and decals. We give you some, part of your club's personality is the club badge, which defines your identity. There are exclusive assets available, like as you level up your club, so that you can see by looking at somebody's club badge, like how long they've been going, how elite that club is almost. That's a really key part. We want people to be able to personalize their experience as much as possible.
Okay. If you're part of a club and earn fame for them, and then you leave that club, do you take your fame and experience points with you?
You don't take your fame with you. That stays part of the club.
Okay.
However, you do lose access to any benefits that club may have granted you. So if you've unlocked several vehicles by being in that club and you leave the club, you lose access to those vehicles. Of course, you can just join another club that's at maximum level if you wanted to and get access to those vehicles again, but that's your choice. Predominantly, we think clubs are going to be about of forming friendships either with people you already know or people that you don't know yet, but that you grow friends with through the game experience. The clubs themselves we've limited to 6 members, which is quite different to I think what a lot of games would do. These aren't like clans or guilds like you would experience elsewhere. This is a very different mechanic. They're much more personal, and it means that the 6 players, like the 5 other people you're with, are people you're likely to know really well. Either you know them in real life or you've gamed with them for a long time. The point is that you feel that you're all part of something, you're all connected to something, rather than if you're in a guild with like 100 people, chances are you only speak to 5 or 6 of them anyway. It's almost no point being in a guild that size unless the content demands it. With Driveclub, the content is designed around smaller, more personal groups of players. It's just a much more intimate feeling, like having just your close friends involved in this experience. That way, you can all contribute. You all feel like you've got a role to fulfill. You all feel like what you're doing is meaningful, and you're not just there making up the numbers.
Okay. Can I join multiple clubs at a time?
You can be in one club only at any one time.
Okay.
We have looked at so originally like clubs we had more people in them. You could switch clubs at any one time, but it wasn't the right focus for the game. And so after a couple of years of development and refinement, like clubs went from like 30 people to 12 people. There were 12 people for a while, and then they went down to 6. And we also limited it so that players could only be part of one club at any one time. The reason for that is that, as I was saying before about this connection and the sense that you feel personally involved in something, if you can just freely switch between clubs, you lose that connection then. Suddenly, like those people that you were playing with, they're out of your mind now. You're now playing with these people. And okay, that's fine, but that's not the game experience we were trying to create. We wanted the club to be almost a personality in its own right. Like these 6 people are going to go through like everything together, and it's really important that that they all feel a sense of belonging. They feel like kind of ownership over their club. Of course, if you're part of like a larger gaming clan and online community, you can create multiple clubs. Like you're free to name them. You're free to use create your own emblem and your own liveries. You can create multiple clubs. Multiple clubs of 6 people and form a slightly larger organisation if you want to, and then you can create badges and liveries that look similar, maybe with some slight variance, so that when people see you online, you know that they're part of the same organisation. But crucially, you're still divided into groups of 6, so you can have your own little personal rivalries as well.
Okay. Can I race members of my club?
Absolutely, yeah. You can. We have 2 types of multiplayer. We do synchronous multiplayer, so head to head on the track at the same time. We also do asynchronous multiplayer, which is probably one of the biggest features in Driveclub and the thing that we think people will play the most. We call it challenges. This is the way for you to, for example, like if I was to race a track, post a really good time, and I think actually that's, I would like to send that out as a challenge. I can look at my friends list, I can pick some people and send it to them. I give them a time limit, so I say, right, you've got maybe a day to beat this time. My friends have then got 24 hours to try and beat the time that I've set them. They can have as many attempts as they want, but once that day is up, the leaderboard will be finalised and rewards will be allocated accordingly. But it means that I can, like, I'm busy. I have a family. I work full time. Most gamers these days don't have as much time as perhaps they used to. We're changing. The hobby is changing. And I think more and more people are starting to play asynchronously because it allows them to spend time with their friends, but maybe they can't be online at the same time as them all the time. And if they can be, great, you're going to play some synchronous multiplayer, that's brilliant. But when you're not together and you still want to play some Driveclub and you want to feel like you're still connected, there's other things you can do. Like I can race your ghost in your challenge. It's still like you're there, but you don't have to be. You can be doing something completely different. But I'm still taking part and I still feel like I'm connecting to my friends and my club mates online.
Oh, that's cool. How do you get into a club? Like, if a club has 4 members and you basically gotta ask every 4 of them if you can join, or?
You can. There's multiple ways. You can request to join a club. Even if the club's full, you can request to join it. Like, we don't restrict that. So, if there's a club you really want to be a part of, you can request like membership, and then if the owner's really unscrupulous, they can kick somebody else out and then join. And you can join in. Like, that's up to the clubs. We let people self-organise, really. Okay. So it's entirely up to the community. They can deal with this how they want. You have certain levels of privacy on your club, so you can be an open club where anybody can join and leave. They're free to do that. Or you can have a private club where it's by invitation only. So clubs by default are open, but it's really easy for you to make them private. But we wanted the game to be open to begin with, and then let players decide which things they want to share with people. By default, like, this is one big community, and then you as a player decide how much you're willing to share.
Okay. How much customizable option will there be for the cars? Like not only livery, but maybe also the rims and some bodywork or something?
It's purely cosmetic customization in the game, and there are certain restrictions placed upon us with the manufacturers that mean we can't do things like tyre changes or rim changes or adjustments to the vehicle. Basically, because there are certain manufacturers that only work with certain other manufacturers. They have like an agreed list of manufacturers who they work with, and it would just not be appropriate for us to put a different set of rims on a car that they're not designed for. So we made the decision early on this isn't really a game about car modding or car customization. It's about the cars themselves. And yes, you can personalize them. If you're in a club, you can put your club paint job on it, or you can put your personal paint job on. But you know what we have got that's really interesting is because it's your journey through the game, either yours individually or yours as a club. As you go through the game, you will earn accolades based on what you do. When you unlock an accolade, you get a little badge that goes with it. You can then put that badge on your car. So it's almost like in the modding scene. I don't know whether you guys do this in Germany, but in the UK, in the modding scene, you'll list like all the component manufacturers of your car, like on your door frame, so people know like what bits of kit you've used, and it's kind of like a statement. It's a badge of honor almost. That's the way we're looking at this with these accolades. Like, you can have a string of these accolades down your door, so that when people see your car, they're like, "Wow, this guy's really good at drifting. Like, he's achieved all of these drift accolades." And it's a statement that you're putting out there. It tells people about your personality, and it's also something that you're proud of, that you want to show off.
Okay. Obviously, there won't be any support for Project Morpheus on launch, but are you planning on adding that in the future?
It's a really good question, actually. Categorically, I can say that we are not planning to do a Driveclub version for Morpheus. The reasons for that, though, are slightly more interesting. As a designer, I'm excited by VR and I'm interested in it. But as a developer, we're still learning about VR and how it works as a gaming platform. If you think about where gaming was maybe 20 years ago, that's where we are with VR right now. It's a very different medium. It's not something that you can just apply even to games that you think it would work for. So, for example, you would think that racing would be a really good experience in VR. It turns out it isn't. Okay. And it's only once you try it that you realise. And there are some fundamental reasons for that. And this is purely from a design point of view, but what I and a lot of other designers suspect is that the experiences you'll have in VR will be very different to the experience that you have in a traditional 2D game, and we are only scratching the surface with that. So in terms of Driveclub, there are absolutely no plans for that. If we were going to put Driveclub on Project Morpheus, there are some very fundamental issues that we would need to solve, that we just haven't quite got there yet. Maybe we will do one day. I have no doubt that we'll make somebody somewhere, whether it's us or somebody else, will make driving work in VR. But right now, like we haven't quite worked out how we're going to do that. Okay.
The game that got delayed. It originally was a peaceful launch title. Because the menu wasn't finished. Can you tell us more about the menu?
Yeah, sure. It feels like when we announced that we were delaying the game because the menu wasn't right, we got a lot of feedback, which was, "What? You're delaying a game because of the menu?" But it's really not as simple as that. Like, the menu system for Driveclub is not just about putting content on a screen. It isn't like a traditional user interface. The menu is actually your interface with the Driveclub universe. It's not just the game experience, but it's the Driveclub as a social network, Driveclub as a server infrastructure. We have a companion application available on iOS and Android. We have a Facebook application. Like, all of these things are interconnected, and they all manifest in one way or another in the dynamic menu. We wanted to create something that was seamless, but that wasn't a traditional menu structure. So if you imagine like a hierarchical menu where I go in and down and in and down, and when I'm finished I come all the way back up. It doesn't work for Driveclub, and it doesn't work because this is a very connected experience. So if I'm playing one particular game mode, if I'm doing part of the single player campaign, and I get a notification to say that you have started attempting a challenge, and I want to take part in that challenge, I want to be able to do that. So I want to very simply, like I can, if I wanted to, I could open up my social notification feed, I could find the activity that relates to your challenge, I could click on that and be taken straight into your challenge. And then I can come back to wherever I was in the UI before that. Okay. And it's all completely seamless. And that's what the user experiences. It's seamless. Like they probably won't even notice the subtleties. That's the point. Like good UI design, good UX design, you don't notice. It should feel frictionless. But a lot of work goes into making it frictionless. And that's really why we delayed it. It was, they always say the devil is in the details. And it was, what we had at launch was good. It was, we probably could have released it, you know, it was a good game, but it just wasn't quite right, and it didn't, we had a very ambitious vision that we wanted to deliver on, and so we needed to take that time to make it absolutely right, and we feel like we've got there now. Okay,
the companion app you got, what is that for? Because you obviously can't drive race with it.
You can do pretty much everything in the game apart from race. So you can manage your club, you can create and attempt challenges from the companion app. You can view telemetry feeds from challenges. So if you send me a challenge and I'm away from my PS4, but I've got my phone with me, I can check out your race on my phone, so I can watch your telemetry. It's almost like almost like a sat nav or Google Maps style like navigation. So I can see how you approach that challenge, and I can maybe prepare for that and before I get home, and then I can play it on the PS4. We also live stream to mobile devices, which is a really cool feature, and you get notified of that. We do push notifications, so if you're out and about or even in a meeting at work and you get a notification to say one of your friends is live streaming, like one of your club mates is in a really important club challenge right now, you can just quickly switch that on and watch them play. It's a really nice feature. We've said that it's basically everything except the racing, and that's pretty much it. It's a good way to, because the Driveclub world is so big, it's a great way to stay connected to it.
Okay, then last question. Gran Turismo had a lunar vehicle.
Yes.
Do you plan something crazy too?
I have nothing to say on that matter.
Peggy 3.
Okay Freunde, das war Driveclub. Was haltet ihr vom Spiel? Egal was, schreibt es in die Kommentare, lasst ein Like da und wenn es euch gefallen hat, subscribt doch gleich zu unserem Channel.